This lesson is about functions. By the end of this lesson, what I want you to be able to do is I can identify a function. So when you look at data and inputs and outputs, which I'm going to explain to you in a minute, you can tell whether the data is a function or not a function. Very quickly, we need to do some vocabulary. The first word, relation. A relation is just a set of ordered pairs. That means several different ordered pairs together. Okay, inputs. Before I talk to you about inputs and outputs, I want to write down a set of ordered pairs and explain what's the input and what's the output. Okay, so write these down. 1, 2, 3, 9, 5, 8, and 14, 10. Okay, inputs are the X values in an ordered pair. So the 1 is an input, the 3, the 5, and the 14. When you look at a table or a graph or any kind of information that we're going to talk about for functions, I always want you to see the data as an ordered pair. The inputs are the X values that you put into an equation to find the output. The outputs are the Y values. So 2, 9, 8, and 10 are outputs. And then a function, okay? A function is a special relation. Remember, we talked about a set of ordered pairs. It's a special relation where an input is paired with exactly one output. So in a function, there's one input and it's paired with exactly one output. All right, so the first thing we're going to do in this video is find out how to look at data and decide, is it a function or isn't it a function? Okay, and remember, you're looking for one input that goes exactly with one output. All right, we're going to look at input-output diagrams, graphing, and we'll use the vertical line test, tables, and coordinate points or coordinate pairs. Okay, I want you to remember that every time you look at a set of data, you're going to envision it as an ordered pair or an X value and a Y value. So let's start with input-output diagrams. These are two different input-output diagrams. Well, is it a function or isn't it a function? Let's find out. When I look at the input, remember this is the X value and this is the Y value, okay? The way that I look at an input-output diagram and decide is it a function or not is whether it has one specific X that goes with one specific Y. See how the -2 only goes with 3 and the -1 only goes with 2? If I was going to make those into ordered pairs, it would look like this: -2, 3, -1, 2. So you see how that works. This input goes with one output. This is a function. All right. Now let's look at the other diagram and see how it's different, because this is not a function. Here's how it's different. If I set these up in ordered pairs, I would have 1, -1, and 1, +1. See how it's got 2 arrows away from it? All right? When I look at it, here's what I'm looking for, the X value. There cannot be 2 of the same inputs or 2 of the same X value. If there are 2 of those that go with 2 different outputs, then it means it is not a function. So each one of these went with its own output, but over here we had an input that went with two different outputs, okay? That means it's not a function. Let's talk about the graphing, the vertical line test. Remember, like we said, that everything we look at is an ordered pair. So let's look at this graph over here, and I'm going to tell you ahead of time it's a function. Okay? What we're looking for is this. A vertical line is up and down, okay, north and south. If I can find a point and draw a vertical line and not touch another point of my data or another ordered pair in my data, then it is a function. So if I look at these and I do vertical lines, I notice that I don't touch another point in my data. So that is a function. Over here on this one, it's not a function. Because when I look at these two data points, I can draw a vertical line and touch two of the data points. That means that it's not a relation where one input goes with exactly one output. Let me show you what I mean. If you take a look at this and I turn these into ordered pairs, this point right here would be -1, +3. And this point here would be -1, +6. Again, if you notice, there are two x values that are the same. You cannot have inputs or x's that are the same. They have to only have one input, okay, in the set of data. So there can only be one -1 in that set of data. So that is the vertical line test. If you graph it and you can draw a vertical line between more than one point, okay, then it's not a function. Tables are really similar to input-output diagrams, only we use XY tables, but they mean the same thing. This is the input, this is the output. So are they functions? We're going to do the exact same thing. This is a set of ordered pairs, set of ordered pairs, set of ordered pairs. We know that in our data, in order for it to be a function, there can only be one x value, okay, of each. So let's look. I have -2, 1, 5, and +2. There are no repeats, so this is a function. Let's look at this set of data. We're going to look at the x's first. 3, -2, 5, and 7. Are there any repeats? No. So that is a function. But here's what I want you to notice. There are 2 repeats in the y value. Does it matter? No, it does not. The only thing we're looking for repeats in is the input or the x value. If there are no repeats in the x value, then it is a function. So let's look at this data. 2, 4, 2, -6. I see my 2 repeats in my x value, so I know that this is not a function. Okay, the last piece of information is looking at coordinate points. But again, no matter what we do, whether we're graphing, whether we're looking at diagrams, whether we're looking at tables or coordinate points, the important part to help us identify a function is the x value. We want to see if it repeats in the set of ordered pairs or in the relation. And if it does not repeat, then it is a function. So let's look. We have +1, 3, 2, 0, 7. If there are no repeats in the x value, then it is a function. So let's look at this one. 1, 6, 2, 5, 2. I see a repeat in my x value. So is it a function? No, it is not a function. So, really quickly, if all the x's are single, it is a function. that special relationship with one input that goes with one output. If the x's repeat, it is not a function. We'll do some sorting with this and talk about it. There are lots of different pieces to functions. There are linear functions and nonlinear functions, but we're going to show you how to decide whether things are a function and what you do with those functions.